Hello, everyone. My name's Shane Holloway, and we're doing the Shane Holloway Show. And I just wanted to go over the National Guardsmen shooting in D.C. I haven't done a show for a week because I've been kind of sick, but while I was sick, I was actually working on this. This is Cosmic AI browser. So you can see, thing got cut off here. Let me fix that real quick. That's going to bug me. Okay, there we go. Anyway, this is basically going to be my conspiracy board. We have more than one topic today. We're going to go through, I might get through most of these topics. Geopolitics, Venezuela, PSYOPs, which is the fake accounts at X, Muslim Brotherhood, Ukraine, Russia strikes, sedition, and U.S. fighting in Somalia, surprisingly. So let's get to the event. So the event happened on November 26, 2025. Two members of the West Virginia National Guard, Sarah Beckrom, 20, and Andrew Wolf, 24, awesome names, were shot in a targeted ambush near the Farragut West Metro Station in Washington, D.C., just 2 blocks from the White House. The attack occurred around 2:15 p.m. as the guardsmen who had been sworn in less than 24 hours prior were on patrol in uniform. A lone gunman, identified as 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakanwal, an Afghan national, opened fire without provocation using a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. Both guardsmen were struck multiple times and remain in critical condition after undergoing surgery. I'll show you the gun later, guys. I should have had a picture here of it. Lakanwal entered the United States in September 2021 under the Biden administration's Operation Allies Welcome. Following the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, he had applied for asylum in 2024, which was granted in April 2025 under the Trump administration. He was last reported living in Bellingham, Washington, and had overstayed his visa. After the shooting, Lakanwal was shot 4 times by responding guardsmen and is now in custody under heavy guard, though not life-threateningly injured. He is not cooperating with investigators. The FBI is investigating the incident as a possible act of international terrorism, noting that Lakanwal had connections to U.S. partner forces in Afghanistan. Federal authorities have executed search warrants at his latest known residence and are analyzing seized electronic devices. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services has temporarily halted processing all immigration cases related to Afghan immigrants in response to the shooting. President Donald Trump, vacationing at Mar-a-Lago at the time, condemned the attack and requested 500 additional National Guard troops be deployed to Washington, D.C. Vice President J.D. Vance called for prayers for the wounded guardsmen. The charges currently being considered against Lakanwal include 3 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed. And here is the government site with Hegseth ordered 500 additional guardsmen. So here's some key facts before we get started. Okay. So his identity, 29-year-old Afghan, currently hospitalized under heavy guard. Previous work confirmed by the CIA director to have worked with the U.S. government, including the CIA, as a member of a partner force, part of the elite 0 units in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Travel planning. U.S. Attorney Eugene Pirro stated he drove across the country from his last known residence in Bellingham, Washington, to commit a brazen and targeted ambush-style attack. Weapon used a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. Initial charges. Faces charges of assault with intent to kill while armed and possession of a firearm during a crime of violence, which will probably be upgraded because One of the victims did end up dying. Sadly, Sarah Nordstrom. Was it Nordstrom? Wait. Beckstrom, sorry. I don't know why I said Nordstrom. I just woke up. Prosecutors indicated charges would be upgraded to murder following the death of one victim. Immigration. Entered the U.S. in September 2021 under Operation Allies Welcome, OAW, and was granted asylum in April of this year. So she was a specialist Sarah Beckrom, died from her injuries on Thursday evening. She was 20 years old and served as a military police officer with the West Virginia National Guard. It's horrible. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf remains in critical condition after undergoing surgery. He is 24 years old. Circumstances. They were on a highly visible patrol near the Farragut West Patrol Station, 2 blocks from the White House, when they were ambushed with a provocation. So we don't know a motive currently, but here's some of the things we do know. Motive investigation. Act of terrorism. The FBI confirmed that the agency is officially investigating the shooting as an act of possible terrorism. The suspect is not cooperating with investigators. The motive is unclear. While the investigation has been labeled as terrorism related, authorities have not yet provided a specific motive for why Lakanwal would target U.S. National Guards members, especially given his past work with U.S. forces. Search warrants. Authorities have executed search warrants at the suspect's home in Washington State and San Diego, California, as part of a coast-to-coast investigation. This is a rapidly evolving story. We don't need to read the rest of that. So, now, let's see where it happened.
We have new information from CBS News Homeland Security and Justice correspondent Nicole Skanga. Per federal law enforcement officials, the shooting appears to have originated near the Farragut Metro stop. Sam, am I pronouncing Farragut correctly? I'm not from D.C. Okay.
Yes, it's the Farragut Metro
stop. And both the 2 National Guardsmen and the suspect have been transported to area hospitals. At this time, there's no known direction of interest for the White House other than the location at this time. Again, for everybody knowing who's looking at a map right now, this is incredibly close, just 2 blocks north of the White House North Lawn. And federal law enforcement who is on the scene includes Secret Service, ATF, U.S. Marshals, U.S. Park Police, in addition to the Metro Police. And we have seen National Guard. You can even see.
So you can see this is what the scene looked like afterwards.
One on your screen there. Toward the left-hand side of your screen. Let's go to CBS News' Chanel Call, who is monitoring everything on this breaking news story from our newsroom. Chanel, you're also monitoring some reactions, so what can you tell us?
Yep, we're looking at some social media reaction to this very fluid situation. So I want to read for you, Lindsay, a couple of social media posts. So let's start with this one from Attorney General Pam Bondi. She's saying, federal agents are on the scene of the horrific shooting of 2 National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C. She goes on to say, pray for our National D.C. Guard. Also seeing this from FBI Director Kash Patel moments ago, saying FBI is engaged.
This was before one of them passed away on Thursday.
And assisting with the investigation in Washington, D.C. after National Guard members were shot this afternoon. Please pray for them, and we will update with more information as we're able to. A couple of other notable social media posts to share with you. This one from Leader Chuck Schumer saying, my heart breaks for the victims of this horrific shooting in Washington, D.C. near the White House. I am closely monitoring the situation and am praying for the wounded National Guardsmen and their families. I thank all the first responders for their quick action to capture the suspect. Also seeing this note from Senator Rick.
So he's the leader of the Democrats, basically. But they're kind of they're kind of mad at him right now. So I don't know who the leader of the Democrats is.
Scott saying, praying for the National Guard members who were just harmed in Washington, D.C. while keeping our nation's capital safe. Violence against our men and women in uniform is disgusting. God be with them and their families. So obviously, an outpouring of support for these two National Guardsmen who we now know were shot just about an hour ago, Lindsay, and still waiting for significant updates on their condition.
Okay, Chanel, thank you so much. I want to go back to the coordinating producer for our CBS.
All right. We don't need to watch this whole thing. I just wanted to show you where it happened with that video. And up here, this is going to be, I'll show you this one first. This one is an overshot of the aftermath of the shooting. So I can actually, oops. I can do this. That's max zoom though. So you could see, can I draw on this? Probably not. No. So we watched that in the intro, actually. But I wanted to show it up close too. So this is what happened directly afterwards.
All right. Come on, Mayor.
Okay.
Next to me, Mayor.
Okay.
All right, Alicia, you know where to go. Where's Blanchard? There he is. Okay, good. You know, it seems like we've been...
So if you don't know who she is, she's the U.S. Attorney, I guess Attorney General. I'm not exactly sure. No, Pam Bondi's Attorney General. She's just the attorney, or not just the attorney, but she's the attorney for probably some district. And this is FBI Director Kash Patel. And this is the mayor. I forget her first name, Bowser. And then this is the police chief. And these guys are probably feds or something. I'm not exactly sure. And then this guy's obviously Army.
Been here before. Is this working? Is this on? Where's... as you know, my name is Janine Pirro. I am the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, and I am joined here by several individuals who represent agencies who have been working around the clock since this horrific event happened. To my left, we have the director of the FBI. We have General Leland Blanchard of the National Guard. Mayor Bowser is here as well. We have Frank Saldana of the DEA, Chris Hecht of DHS.
That must be these guys.
Executive Assistant Chief Jeffrey Carroll of the MPD, Darren Cox of the Washington FBI Field Office, and a Special Agent in Charge, Samuel Ward of the ATF in Washington. Now, I want to provide you with an update on the tragic shooting that occurred on two brave members of the West Virginia National Guard as they served in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, today, as most families join together to give thanks for the blessings that have been bestowed upon them, two families are shattered and destroyed and torn apart as a result of the actions of one man. First and foremost, our hearts go out to the victims and their families. These are dedicated service members who were performing their duties in service to our nation, and they are currently in critical condition. They have undergone surgery. We pray for their well-being as they continue to be cared for in the best possible way. We have been in constant contact with their families and have provided them with every resource needed during this difficult time. The two National Guardsmen that we're talking about are Sarah Beckrom, who's 20 years old, and Andrew Wolf, who is 24 years old. They were uniformed members of the West Virginia National Guard, and they were in D.C. to keep D.C. safe, pursuant to President Trump's executive order.
Just some background information. I think they were sworn in 24 hours before this happened. So they just started working in D.C. They were not like as soldiers, but in D.C.
to make D.C. safe and beautiful. They answered the call. They took the charge. They volunteered. They put their lives on the line for people they don't even know. And that, unfortunately, is becoming a reality more and more for the members of law enforcement. Yesterday on Thanksgiving Eve at approximately 2:15, near 17th and I Streets in the northwest section of the district, near the Farragut West Metro Station, 2 uniformed guardsmen were ambushed in a brazen and targeted attack. A lone gunman opened fire without provocation, ambush style, armed with a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. One guardsman is struck, goes down, and then the shooter leans over and strikes the guardsman again. Another guardsman is struck several times. Fellow guardsmen who were there responded immediately, engaging the suspect, neutralizing the threat, and subduing him at the scene. He was transported to a local hospital where he remains, as we speak, under heavy guard. Thanks to the swift and coordinated response of the National Guard and the Metropolitan Police Department, no additional victims were harmed, and the scene was secured within minutes. The suspect, he has been identified as Ramanullah Lakanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan who entered the United States under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome, a program following the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. He resided in Bellingham, Washington with his wife and, we believe, 5 children. And we're working very closely with our federal partners, especially DHS and the FBI, to review his immigration history and the vetting process itself. What we know about him is that he drove his vehicle across country from the state of Washington with the intended target of coming to our nation's capital. As we stand here today, the charges that are appropriate right now are 3 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed, a violation of DC Code 22-401 and DC Code 22-4502. He will also be charged with possession of a firearm during a crime of violence. He faces 15 years under the assault with the intent to kill. We intend to continue monitoring what the charges will be, depending upon the well-being of the guardsmen. We are
Again, Sarah Beckrom passed away last night, so I'm guessing that he'll get murder 1.
praying that they survive and that the highest charge will not have to be murder in the first degree. But make no mistake, if they do not, that will certainly be the charge, murder in the first degree. The Department of Justice under Attorney General Pam Bondi is...
And also, DC doesn't have the death penalty, I think. I'll look that up while we're watching.
Committed to a thorough and an impartial investigation where we will hold this perpetrator accountable under the full weight of the law. Now, Sarah and Andrew volunteered. They came here to protect the people of the district, pursuant to a crime emergency that President Trump rightly declared.
No, they do not.
In this city and in other cities across the country.
I mean, no, they do not have the death penalty, sorry.
Our nation's capital should not and must not be a place where evil comes to commit violence, whatever their cause or motive may be. We should not have to live in fear in the nation's capital, especially by one who came here from a foreign country. And through a process that was so absurd that he came through and released into this country, as many were, knowing virtually nothing about his vetting. This is what happens in this country when people are allowed in who are not properly vetted.
So just a little background, if you don't know what you're talking about, the withdrawal out of Afghanistan was pretty hectic. There was people like trying to cling to the airplane's wheels and everything as it was taking off, you know. So Biden got a lot of flack for doing that, but he just wanted to end the war. Not defending him, but that was his excuse, right? That's what he said, basically. And he probably said a lot more stuff. I wasn't really paying attention to what they were saying about that back then. But I've seen pictures of like the inside of the airplane. There's like people like stood on top of each other and everything. So usually what they will do is they have like what's called a lily pad country. So if they can't fully vet someone before they come into the America, what they'll do is they'll put them in like another country, like maybe like Germany or somewhere like that, and they'll be like vetted before they come.
These guardsmen and all who are here
and not be in danger at the same time
to protect the district are the line that separates a civilized society from a barbaric one. They are the ones who stand for law and order. This was not just an attack. It was a direct challenge to law and order in our nation's capital. And the individual will be made fully accountable. And though it seems that we have been here before under President Trump, make no mistake, and the Attorney General, we will not allow this to be normalized. It will be confronted, condemned, and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Now, my message to the individual who committed these acts is you picked the wrong target, the wrong city, and the wrong country, and you will be sorry for the violence and the evil that you perpetrated in our nation's capital. And now I call upon the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thanks, Judge. I'll begin my remarks and my remarks the same way, with prayer for our fallen soldiers, prayer for our law enforcement community, prayer for our National Guardsmen and women, prayer for our brave prosecutors at the Department of Justice and the offices of the D.C. United States Attorney. We must come together as a nation, especially on this Thanksgiving Day, and remember the sacrifices that so many are making around the world and around this country to secure our freedoms under President Trump's brilliant leadership and administration. I'll provide an update on the case as follows. It is an ongoing investigation of terrorism. Make no mistake about it. The FBI is leading out on this federal assault on a federal law enforcement officer investigation on many fronts. We immediately, with our law enforcement partners in the Metropolitan Police Department and the interagency, secured the scene, seized the weapon, sent in our evidence response team immediately to collect evidence and started doing block-by-block canvases. We are looking for and interviewing witnesses. The firearm and other materials have been sent to our Quantico laboratory already yesterday for immediate analysis. That work is ongoing. Partnering with the D.C. United States Attorney's Office, we have also executed multiple search warrants around the country to include the subject's last known residence, which is in the state of Washington. The search warrant was executed on that house last night or early this morning, and it is an ongoing process. All the individuals found in the house have been interviewed, and some interviews remain ongoing. We will not stop until we interview anyone and everyone associated with the subject, the house, and every piece of his life. There's also subject interviews.
So I think after listening to a veteran from Afghanistan yesterday or last night, Matt Dardio, he was saying that, we'll get into it in a bit, like after this, but just so you know, he was saying that it could be that this person was coerced, like his family in Afghanistan could have been put in danger or something like that, or it could have been like Alex Jones and General Flynn think that it could be like a psychological operation, or maybe like Matt Tardio said, maybe it could be a rogue CIA agent, or it could be he was radicalized by ISIS. So the two, what Matt figures, the two most common causes of this is usually radicalization or coerced because their family is in danger or being held ransom or whatever you want to call it. So that's what Kash is talking about here. I think he's looking into like everybody to do with the victim, or not the victim, the shooter. Probably the victim too, just to see like why they were targeted.
Relations conducted in San Diego, pursuant to our ongoing investigation. So, as the judge noted, this is a coast-to-coast investigation being led right here in Washington, D.C. And this subject definitely did pick the wrong country. And we will rise together as a nation to show the world what we do here. And we are thankful that we have the Attorney General's brave leadership and President Trump's brave leadership and priorities to safeguard our communities. I also spoke to Director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, last night, and Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. There is confirmation now that this subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known.
So he worked with the CIA as an operative and other things in what's called zero units. So we're going to go into that more once we talk about the shooter.
Associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America. That is what a broad-based international terrorism investigation looks like. We will provide continuous details to the American public while at the same time not jeopardizing the ongoing prosecution to ultimately hold this perpetrator accountable in our courts of law. We will provide as much transparency as possible, but as you can see, the breadth and scope of this investigation will continue. We will continue to hit the streets and hit every town and every house and talk to every witness. The men and women of the FBI and the Metropolitan Police Department and the interagency to include the Department of Homeland Security, DEA, and ATF are working tirelessly on this Thanksgiving Day. And I know just by talking to the leaders behind me that instead of going on and being with their families, everyone rogered up and showed up to work today. And none of them want to go home. That's the resolve that we have together as a team to bring to you justice for this heinous act of terrorism here in our nation's capital. And as the judge said, we will ensure that our law enforcement partners are out there in full force to make sure the world can enjoy our nation's capital. We will not let this heinous act of violence prevent people from visiting our beautiful nation's capital. And we will also continue to highlight any evidence that we can publicly. And as the judge said, this individual is in this country for one reason and one reason alone, because of the disastrous withdrawal from the Biden administration and the failure to vet anyway, in any way, shape, or form, this individual and countless others, and this administration has taken the rightful step to stop any further allowance of people with this similar background into the country, and we're thankful for that. And as I said, this investigation remains ongoing, and I think I'll turn it over to General Blanchard of the National Guard now. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. All across America this morning, families are waking up. They'll spend the day with their children, their brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, friends from across the community. There will be the smell of turkey, all the fixings. They'll watch parades, football games. They'll pray together. They'll talk about what they're grateful for. This morning, there are two families that will not have that opportunity. Andy and Sarah's families, they're spending the day reflecting on the past, and in the days coming, they'll reflect on and think about what could.
Say more than two, man, because you got the shooter's family, you got the people that got to search for him and do work now all through Thanksgiving, and you got like all, you know what I mean? The doctors, the nurses, everybody.
Could have been, what might be, because regardless of the outcome, we know that their lives, their families' lives are all changed forever, because one person decided to do this horrific and evil thing. And all across America, we are also reminded that there are many law enforcement agents, first responders, soldiers, service members all around the world who at best will come home, eat some cold turkey, open up Tupperware, eat what's left over, because they spent the day defending the American ideals, getting out there and getting after it on every American citizen's behalf. I will say that the District of Columbia National Guard, this task force, is more committed this morning to the president's directive to make DC safe and beautiful. Our resolve will be tested.
Yeah, he pissed them off. They're gonna like nail him to the wall, but not literally. What's the word? Metaphorically.
It is being tested, but make no mistake, each and every one of these soldiers and airmen will meet and exceed the expectation that we have for them. They are, in fact, America's best. I'm proud of each and every one of them. I pray for each and every one of them today, and in particular, for these two young service members who are willing to go above and beyond and pay whatever price our nation asks of them. I ask every American today to keep them in their thoughts and prayers as you go about your day. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Mayor, where's Mayor Bowser? Yeah.
Thank you, Judge. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C., and I want to associate myself with the remarks of our Adjutant General from the D.C. National Guard. I want to be very clear what the judge and everyone has reported here. Somebody drove across the country, came to Washington, D.C. to attack America. And that person will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. These young people should be at home in West Virginia with their families.
I wonder what made her say that he was attacking America. Is it just because he, like, not just but because he shot the Guardsman, or is it because she knows something that wasn't said, you know?
ATF, anybody? DHS? Anyone? Okay. I also want to say that both Sarah and Andrew, I believe, were sworn in less than 24 hours before they were shot on the street in Washington. Any questions? You know, as the directors indicated,
okay, we don't need to just ask her a bunch of questions about like stuff that she doesn't want to answer, basically.
First responders raced through the streets, making their way to the chaotic scene just a couple of blocks from the White House. It was
So this is some footage of the scene I just wanted to show you.
2:15 in the afternoon when police say National Guard troops patrolling a metro station were shot in a targeted attack by a lone gunman.
The suspect came around the corner, raised his arm with a
And this is also the initial press conference.
firearm and discharged it at the National Guard members.
Authorities fired back, shooting the suspect, who was aggressively apprehended. As he was subdued, troops rushed to the side of the wounded Guard members. In the
See how lucky you guys are that you got me to show you that instead of them?
pile of glass there, you
Because it's like, you know, all blurry and stuff.
can see the emergency for
This one's pretty good though. You can see like the bus shelter's broken out. You can see there's 2 guardsmen, one on either side. I'm guessing they were behind the bus shelter.
first aid for one of the
And that's how he got him.
2 National Guard members.
Or he shot him through the bus shelter or something. Maybe they rushed behind it once they got shot. I don't know.
An air ambulance lands in between historic buildings as the victims were rushed to hospital.
I was in the Uber, I heard boom, boom, twice.
Stacey Walters was driving past as she saw people running for their lives, including young kids.
Oh my gosh, I wanted to cry. I've never been so close to something like that, let alone it's the holidays. There's little children outside. It's broad daylight.
National Guard troops have been patrolling Washington since August as part of President Donald Trump's controversial efforts to make the U.S. Capitol safer. There has been plenty of public debate with fierce arguments on both sides about whether the deployment is necessary.
This is a good report. All the shots they got.
I mean, I feel terrible for the National Guardsmen. I mean, they were ordered to be here. They didn't ask for anything like this.
Trump called it an act of terror, identifying the suspect as a 29-year-old from Afghanistan, blaming the previous Biden administration for allowing him into the country.
We must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country.
Trump's defense secretary announcing another 500 troops will now be deployed to the city.
That will only stiffen our resolve.
They still call it U.S. Defense. I thought it was the Secretary of War now.
We will never back
Oh, it's Canadian, that's why.
down. We will secure
Sorry, guys. My countrymen are kind of stupid.
our capital.
The suspect, police say, was
I rest my case.
armed with a handgun. Authorities are now searching the area for video of the attack. And right here in the heart of Washington, D.C., with so many high-profile buildings, there should be plenty of that video.
And Katie, this National Guard deployment in D.C., it has been controversial, and a judge had recently said it was illegal.
Yeah, it's at the heart of another high-profile court battle. The Trump administration filed new paperwork just hours after the shooting. They want the National Guard to stay put. As someone who lives here in D.C., you see the National Guard
Oh, she's American.
all the time. They're highly visible. They're often near public transit. And as controversial as it may have been at first, as time has passed, it's not as shocking. That said, though, their deployment here, it's highly unusual. And again, it remains controversial.
All right, that is Katie Simpson in Washington.
Anyway, just follow the arrow. Next up we have, so this is the people who were shot. So let's just take a look here. Heartbreaking. National Guardsman Sarah Beckrom's father, Gary, responds to her killing. My baby girl has passed to glory. This has been a horrible tragedy. Pray hard for the Beckrom family on this Thanksgiving night. I can't imagine what they're going through. That's what she looked like. They did a little procession for her. Well, probably a big procession. Nick Sorter posted it if you want to watch it. The whole thing. Man, those cars make no noise. Maybe it's the noise suppression. They could be electric. It's really nice though. Oh, you get to see the whole thing here right now. It's fire trucks. Looks like an undercover. Or agents, federal agents. So, okay, wait now. This is also Sergeant Andrew Wolf. He's 24. Now they're both shot in the head. I don't know how many times they got shot besides being shot in the head, because they said that they came up and, you know, hit him a couple more times. So I don't know if she's the one who got hit and that's why she didn't survive or what. But
at approximately 2:15 this afternoon, members.
Wait, now let me get this bigger for us.
Of the DC National Guard were on high visibility patrols in the area of 17th and I Street Northwest when a suspect came around the corner, raised his arm with a firearm and discharged it at the National Guard members. The National Guard members are being treated at a local hospital.
Yeah, I think we heard this already, but just so we know what it looks like, I just want to show you this picture. So this is him right before it happened. That's the 357 Smith & Wesson. This is him getting ready for the ambush. And that's what he looked like. But Andrew, they did post an update of Andrew. I'm not going to go through his whole personal health, what he's going through right now, but it looks like he's got a lot of work to do to get back on his feet. So definitely pray for him and pray for her family. And pray everyone figures out what's going on. So before we get into all this, I just wanted to go through the definition of a color revolution, okay? Because this is going to be more important for some of the, PSYOP and aspects of the whole case, because we're dealing with the CIA now. So a color revolution is a series of largely non-violent protests and uprisings in post-Soviet and other countries, primarily in the early 21st century, that aim to challenge authoritarian regimes and establish democratic governments. They are characterized by the use of a specific color or symbol to unite protesters, widespread use of the social media for communication, and broad-based participation from various sectors of society. Examples include the Rose Revolution in Georgia, 2003, the Orange Revolution in Ukraine, 2004, and the Tulip Revolution in Kyrgyzstan, 2005. Key characteristics: nonviolent resistance. Movements rely primarily on civil disobedience, protests, and demonstrations, though some clashes may occur. Symbolic colors. Each movement adopts a specific color or symbol to create a unifying identity, such as orange for Ukraine or roses for Georgia. Triggered by disputed elections, many were triggered by election results that were widely viewed as fraudulent. Starting to sound familiar, you guys? Broad social mobilization. They involve a wide coalition of groups, including students, civil society organizations, and ordinary citizens. Use of technology. The internet and social media are crucial for communication, mobilization, and organizing protests. Aim for democracy. The goal is to replace authoritarian or corrupt governments with more democratic or Western-style ones. All right, so let's see what Flynn's got to say.
Number one,
So this is General Mike Flynn. He's I wouldn't even be able to say his full title, but he does a lot of counterterrorism stuff. He's like a general in the army, and he's dealt with like really big operations and stuff, so he knows what he's talking about, to say the least.
Yeah, the big threats. Number one, I really do feel like we are facing a potential, something that makes 9/11 look like a church, like a small church fire. And I hope that I'm wrong. I pray that I'm wrong. But the indications and warnings across the board, and that's just solely from my own, experiences and research of open source information. So never mind other things that I'm sure that they're getting inside of the National Security Agency, the FBI, the CIA. What I worry about, and that account.
If you don't know, you can actually go and get open source intel, and you can watch people that give you information about what's going on.
If an attack does occur, what I worry about is that the president is not being briefed by those organizations fully. And that's where the president of the United States needs to really shake these organizations up, shake the leaders up, and get them involved and make sure that he is getting exactly what they believe could happen. Because I'm sitting here today, not as some guy sitting on the wall, that just walked into the party. I'm sitting here as a guy who's very experienced in these things. So I'm concerned about that. The second thing, and as important, actually probably certainly more important really, is the life of the president.
So 2 weeks ago, General Flynn predicted on my show that elements of the CIA would activate Islamic sleeper cells in the United States in the coming months. And then we'll watch this in a second, but Laura Logan said, urgent, is the CIA, she's an investigative journalist too. Urgent, is the CIA behind the murder of 2 U.S. soldiers near the White House? Did they orchestrate this this act of war? Take a close look. The gunman's ID below. ACC to this, he was a member of the Quandar Strike Force, a CIA-backed paramilitary. He's one of theirs. So this, basically what she's saying is this name tag proves that he was part of a strike force called the QSF. And that's his rank and ID and everything. And that he was brought over here by the CIA. To America, I mean.
2 weeks ago, on my syndicated broadcast, General Flynn, the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, predicted that in the coming months, or even weeks, the deep state CIA elements, ally of the Democratic Party, with Communist China, Venezuela, and others, would begin triggering sleeper cells inside the United States, particularly Islamic. I'll post the interview below. He was on my broadcast yesterday and pointed out that all the evidence is clear. We've also had whistleblowers that have talked to Jesse Waters and others at Fox from inside the CIA, that this whole program with the seditious six and the script they admit they were given, Brennan's the handler.
So we haven't talked about that much yet, but the sedition was when they were about to go into Venezuela, the U.S. Army, and I guess it was 6 officers or ex-officers, retired officers, came out and said that you don't have to perform illegal actions. So basically calling for insubordination, which is called sedition. So basically they're betraying their country. So I don't know. That's allegedly. I don't know. Like, I've seen the videos of them saying it, but I don't know. They haven't been tried in a court. So,
former head of the CIA, from my analysis, this whole operation they've been running of implying Trump's putting out illegal orders is ahead of major events to destabilize the United States with different paramilitary forces. And then when Trump tries to call it the military, the corporate media would already pre-planted the idea that his orders are illegal. This is sedition. This is the prep phase for a violent coup. And I've been predicting it along with General Flynn as well. This is a very, very serious time right now. And now we know, as you see below, this has been released by CIA Director Ratcliffe. Laura Logan has posted the information, and she's got incredible intel connections. I'll just leave it at that. That this guy was part of a CIA strike force, and that's what his ID says, in Afghanistan. And, of course, her husband's been deployed over there for forever and was a leading commander. And is also a very good source of information on that front. So this is a major message to Trump. This is a probe. This was just literally hundreds of feet away from the fence at the White House. And there's going to be more of this. So people better get ready. This is very, 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 very serious. Of course, Biden brought hundreds of thousands of these people into the country, and they need to be deported. The media is trying to spin it now because the Trump administration approved one level of his asylum last year. But that's just because that's part of the larger process that Biden set up. And now those policies need to be reversed, and they need to go in and kick out all of these paramilitary Afghans, even if they, quote, work for the CIA. But this guy clearly is working for these very elements. Remember, John Brennan is a Muslim and a communist. He brags about it. People always are blown away by that. I mean, look it up. He brags about it in Arabic. And they're working with these different terror networks. And they use them as a covert army. And they're gearing up the drug cartels and others to wreak havoc in this nation. General Flynn didn't just predict that. He has sources that give him the chatter and the information that's being picked up, and I'm getting that from other law enforcement intelligence sources as well. So I'm very, very sad for the two National Guard soldiers that were...
I think General Flynn is just, like, you know, predicting it, right? He'll take him seriously, but so he can tell it, like, he can pretend like he thought of it himself so that, you know, he could tell you information without getting in trouble, I guess.
You know, the governor of West Virginia came out where they were deployed from and said they were dead. And now there's conflicting reports. We'll just continue to watch this as it unfolds. But everybody needs to put their head on a swivel. And we don't need to give into this intimidation. The left wants the troops off the streets because they want the crown to be high. They want to be able to launch their civil war and bill it as George Floyd 2.0 and have it be race-based. But the dog isn't going to hunt because we've been ahead of the curve, been exposing their plans before they do it. God bless you all. We have a great Thanksgiving.
It's true. He's been saying that for years now. Oh. Wait, what happened here? Oh, they deleted it. How do I go back? Hold on, guys. There was a protest. They were calling for, like, Allahu Akbar and all this stuff in Dearborn, Michigan. It got deleted. My bad. I should have saved it. Anyway. Next up, we have all about the shooter. So, first I want to show you what he looked like. These are two pictures that are supposedly him, allegedly. This is allegedly him. All this is allegedly, guys. But it's, you know, you're looking at the information. So, Afghan national Ramun Lakanwal was identified as suspected shooter in ambush. CIA previously worked with the U.S. government, including CIA, as a member of a partner force in Qadar that ended in 2021 following the U.S. withdrawal in Afghanistan. The suspect was shot by another Guard member and taken into custody. Officials said he is currently hospitalized. No other suspects have been identified in connection with the shooting, multiple law enforcement sources told CBS News. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro said Thursday that the suspect will be charged with 3 counts of assault, intent to kill while armed, blah, blah, blah. We know that. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said on X that the suspect was paroled into the U.S. on September 8, 2021 under the Biden-era program for Afghan nationals called Operation Allies Welcome. President Trump described him as a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. In a video message late Wednesday, he said the suspect's status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden. A Department of Homeland Security official told CBS News that the suspect was paroled into the U.S. on humanitarian grounds back in 2021. That was the main legal mechanism the Biden administration used to welcome tens of thousands of Afghan evacuees after the Taliban takeover in August 2021. Lakanwal later applied for asylum with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services in 2024, and his application was granted in 2025. DHS officials said, but his request for a green card, which is tied to the asylum grant, is pending. Many of the Afghan nationals who were admitted in U.S. in 2021 were issued special immigrant visas offered to those who worked alongside the military during its 20-year war, while others were given a temporary humanitarian status known as parole. More than 8,000 people from Afghanistan were also granted deportation relief under a separate program called Temporary Protected Status, which Biden extended in 2023, but Mr. Trump instead of President Trump chose to end earlier this year. Suspect had worked with U.S. forces and CIA Afghanistan. A CIA spokesman confirmed Thursday that the suspect worked with U.S. government, including CIA, during a war in Afghanistan. So the CIA confirmed it. CBS News has also learned that the suspect had led a team in the former... Wait, I think I can turn the page here. Whoop. Former Afghan National Armed Forces that worked directly with the U.S. and British forces. According to a former Afghan commando who spoke with CBS News on Thursday, Lakanwal led a unit of Afghan special forces. So he led a unit in the south of the country and worked closely with the international troops. The former commando told CBS News that Lakanwal was left deeply troubled by the death of a close friend and fellow Afghan commander in 2024, whom he said had unsuccessfully sought asylum in the U.S. It's funny how nobody knows this guy's motive, but somehow CBS News knows it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is this fucking psyop shit. Like, how the fuck do they know, man? Anyway, if they're talking about the same guy that I think they're talking about, then I might know how they know this, but we'll talk about that in a second. Multiple law enforcement sources told CBS News on Thursday that a running theory of investigators is that the suspect suffered from paranoia and other mental health challenges that indicated he believed authorities sought to deport him from the U.S. The suspect isn't cooperating. The suspect was subdued at the scene of the shooting and taken into custody by National Guard members and law enforcement officers. Jeff Carroll, Executive Assistant Chief of the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department, told reporters Wednesday, at this time he isn't cooperating with authorities, law enforcement sources say. Police say suspect was lone gunman who ambushed National Guard. Carroll said the suspect appeared to be a lone gunman that raised the fire alarm and ambushed these members of the National Guard as they patrolled near a mass transit station in downtown DC. The suspect had 4 rounds in his handgun initially. Multiple sources familiar with the investigation told CBS News. The first victim, a female Guard member, was struck immediately and collapsed where she stood. She sustained at least 2 gunshot wounds during the ambush, the sources say. So she got struck twice, okay. Then the suspect took her weapon and used it to continue shooting. Oh, striking the second Guardsman, according to multiple sources. A third Guard member, who was not injured, ultimately returned fire, ending the attack. One of the victims, 20-year-old Army specialist Sarah Beckrom, has died. President Trump said Thursday the second victim, Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24, was in critical condition after undergoing surgery, Piro said earlier Thursday. The Guards member were on high visibility patrols, Kroll said, part of a months-long deployment of National Guards troops from D.C. and several states ordered by President Trump. Suspect drove from Washington State. Piro said Thursday morning that the suspect drove to D.C. from Bellingham in Washington State with the intended target of coming to our nation's capital, she said. The suspect lived with his wife and officials believe 5 children. FBI Director Kash Patel said a search warrant had been executed at the suspect's last known address in Washington State, Based on what was found at the address, law enforcement were able to find people associated with him in San Diego. During that process, we seized numerous electronic devices, including cell phones, laptops, iPads, and other materials that are being analyzed as we speak, Patel said. Interviews were conducted and are going to continue to be conducted, and we will go anywhere in the country or the world where the evidence leads us. Multiple family members of the suspect in Washington state have been interviewed by investigators following a search of the suspect Bellingham's home. Multiple law enforcement sources told CBS News on Thursday. Federal law enforcement, led by FBI, are scrutinizing and analyzing the suspect's digital footprint, the sources said. The Department of Homeland Security had earlier spelled his name as Lakanwal. It sounds like he kind of tried to make his name sound more Indian or something, you know? Okay, that's actually the end of that article. So let's look at our little fact sheet here. The Afghan national identified as a suspected shooter of the 2 National Guardsmen in Washington state worked for the U.S. government, including the CIA, in Afghanistan before coming to the USA. The suspect, Ramanullah Lakanwal, arrived in the U.S. in 2021 under Operation Allies Welcome. Previous work in Afghanistan, according to reports from U.S. officials and other sources, his previous work included CIA-backed partner force. He worked with the U.S. government, including the CIA, as a member of a partner force in Kandahar. 0 units, the 03 unit. Because of 0, I get it. 03 unit. He reportedly served in special Afghan army unit known as 0 units, specifically the 03 unit in Kandahar. These were paramilitary units backed by CIA and involved in counterterrorism and frontline fighting. Leadership role. As a former official from the unit stated, he was a team leader and a GPS specialist. Logistics. One report also suggested he worked as a logistics coordinator for the U.S. contractor and collaborated with American Special Force units on supply runs. NGO work, and a LinkedIn profile now deleted suggested he had done humanitarian work as a field coordinator for the International Rescue Committee, IRC. His work with the U.S. government ended shortly after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. The U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. has said the attack is being investigated as an act of terrorism.
Breaking news.
This is a short summary.
At 11 with breaking news as we learn more about the man investigators say ambushed 2 West Virginia National Guard members, shooting them just a block from the White House. And we've learned that 29-year-old Afghan national now under arrest has a West Coast connection. It's being called a targeted attack by a lone gunman. Luckily, other nearby Guards members were able to take down the shooter before he was able to fire on anyone else. Eyewitness News reporter Liz Nagy here now with more on the shooting and the newly discovered West Coast connection. Liz?
Jury tonight, multiple law enforcement sources tell ABC News a 29-year-old man from Afghanistan is the gunman. Tonight, his former landlord in Bellingham, Washington, told the Associated Press Ramanullah Lakanwal had been living there with his wife and 5 children.
Lakanwal Lakanwal.
It was pure panic on the typically secure streets of Washington, D.C., just a block from the White House. As tourists took cover, federal and D.C. police sprinted toward the sound of gunfire. The glass of a bus stop shelter shattered by bullets scattered all over the sidewalk. Behind the blurred circles, 2 National Guard members gunned down moments earlier in what federal investigators and D.C. police chiefs say was an ambush.
The suspect came around the corner, raised his arm with a firearm, and discharged at the National Guard members.
ABC News photographer Chris Plater was there seconds after the gunshots.
One National Guard was lying on his side. They were rendering aid to him. The other National Guard member that was down, and I saw compressions going on.
This social media post from Muslim High School in West Virginia says one of the Guard members who was shot is their alumnus, Andrew Wolf, who they say is now in surgery. He and his fellow female Guard member are part of the roughly 2,000 National Guard members deployed on the streets of Washington, D.C. by President Trump, who is spending the holiday in Florida.
This heinous assault was an act of evil and act of...
I got a question though. Like, why would you deploy a junior member of the National Guard inside a dangerous city where people, you know, and then like, I don't know, she's a specialist, so I don't know what she did, but like she was probably not really like, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Of hatred and an act of terror. It was a crime
I don't blame anyone except for the guy who did it, but
against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity.
Fellow Guard members held the suspect on the ground until police arrived. Multiple law enforcement sources identified the gunman as Ramallah Lakanwal, an Afghan national who came to the United States in 2021 in the wake of the Biden administration's chaotic withdrawal.
That's the withdrawal there. You can see all the people.
Chaotic withdrawal.
3 law enforcement sources tell ABC News tonight Lakanwal applied for asylum in 2024 and was granted asylum in April 2025 under the Trump administration. Tonight, the United States Citizen and Immigration Service is pausing all immigration requests from Afghanistan indefinitely. Jory?
Liz Nagy, thank you.
Boom, 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 boom. So this is the guy that they were talking about, CBS News. Ramallah Lakanwal, the terrorist who carried out the November 26th shooting of National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C., is a direct family tie to ISKP, which is Al-Qaeda, I think. His half-brother, Moiwiya Krusani, a.k.a. Halulatullah, pictured here, was a recruiter for ISKP. So let's look up ISKP is who. So it stands for Islamic State Khorasan Province, which is a regional affiliation of the Salafi jihadist group Islamic State, active primarily in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Central Asia. It is designated a terrorist organization by the UN, several countries, including the United States, Canada, and Australia. ISIS or Al-Qaeda? I think it's ISIS, yeah. Okay. Wait, no. We'll see. You'll see that picture in a second. It's over here. Let's take a look at it. So this is him. I don't know if, what condition he is. Looks like he's asleep. How many times do we have to hear Allahu Akbar in America before we recognize Islam as a problem? So he's hinting at the fact that, I don't know if he's talking about the protests that happened or if he's talking about this guy said it before he attacked the guardsman. So this is a CIA analyst, Sarah Adams, terrorist whisperer, she calls herself. Who is the DC terrorist Ramallah Lakanwal? Lakanwal from Conquest province, Afghanistan, was a member of 2 CIA-supported units that operated under the National Directorate of Security, NDS, of the former Afghan Republic. Although these units belonged to the NDS on paper, their support and direction came directly from the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. He served in Unit 01. Now, someone's saying 01, someone's saying 03. A special military intelligence unit responsible for the Central Zone provinces, Kabul, Parwan, Mardak, and Logar. So, like, is this the PSYOP or is the news the PSYOP? I think the news is the PSYOP. But I don't know. It's hard to say. His agency training in 2007 took place in CIA's Eagle Base near the Day Sabs district in Kabul province, a few miles from Hamid Karzai International Airport, HKIA. Eagle Camp, originally built on an old brick factory site, became one of the CIA's most important counterterrorism training centers in the early 2000s. It trained the CIA-backed NDS units, including NDS-1 and 01, NDS-02, NDS-03, 04, and an NDS-KPF and NDS-KSF. I guess that's the 0 units. And also housed the ammunition depot and multiple facilities for sensitive operations. When U.S. forces left Afghanistan in 2021, Eagle Camp was among the final sites to be evacuated and demolished. It was later handed over to the Haqqani Network's Suicide Bomber Brigade. The Bandari 313 moved the suicide bombers through the gate areas of HKIA for the Abbey Gate attack that killed 13 of our service members and approximately 170 Afghans on August 26, 2021. After completing training at Eagle Base, Lakanwal was transferred to the team supporting CIA Kandahar base. The site had a long militant history. It housed Mullah Mohammed Omar from 1994 to 2001, Osama bin Laden from 1998 to 2001, and later Camp Gecko from 2002 to 2021, which was used by the CIA and NDS-03. It served as the headquarters of the Kandahar Strike Force, which led CIA-backed counterterrorism operations in Kandahar, Uruzgan, and Zabul province against the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS. Lakanwal took part in counterterrorism missions alongside U.S. forces in Kandahar. After the attack yesterday on our National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C., ISIS channels were the first to praise the incidents, largely because Lakanwal's half-brother, the son of his father's second wife, pictured left, had been a recruiter for the Islamic State Khorasan province. That's the guy who was sleeping. ISKP. His brother, that's why they wouldn't let him in, because he was a recruiter for ISIS. You see? And then this guy I'd say this guy they say that he became radical because they wouldn't let one of his guys in, right? So his brother, Mawiya Khorasani, aka Hayatullah, pictured below, previously worked with Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan in Orakzai Agency, Pakistan, before formally joining ISKP. He was killed in a targeted operation in July 2002 in Akin District, Nagar Province. Some ISIS members claimed he was killed by Pakistan's Counterterrorism Department, CTD, though that remains unconfirmed. After the fall of Kabul in 2021, Lakanwal's unit, the Kandahar Protection Force and the Coast Protection Force, KPF, became primary targets for both the Haqqani network and the ISKP, which sought either to blackmail or recruit former KPF members. Recruitment involved persuading them to join voluntarily. Blackmail involved coercing them through threats to their families, many were left behind, exposing a past work with the U.S., or financial pressure. Both groups targeted these units specifically because of their close relationships on U.S. soil, particularly with former CIA officers. In addition, both groups, along with Al-Qaeda, saw value in impersonating these units. A couple thousand fake documents and ID cards were produced so terrorists could claim affiliation with KPF, 01, 02, and other special units. So maybe the one that Laura Logan showed off is a fake. Like, it's real, but he had it counterfeited, so people would think that he was in the 0 units. This allowed some individuals to fraudulently move through the U.S. evacuation process by exploiting unsuspected volunteers and taking advantage of weak vetting procedures. We have confirmed that Lakanwal's ID, pictured right, and the employment were legitimate, but a full review is recommended as okay, so it was legitimate. As terrorists have explicitly claimed using this route as a pipeline into the U.S. We cannot keep waiting for Americans to be killed again and again before we act against the Islamist terrorists who have arrived on our soil since 2021. This can no longer fall on the shoulders of a small handful of people sounding the alarm. Every American needs to be engaged, protecting their families, their communities, and our homeland. Please prepare today. All right. Zoom out. There we go. Next up, actually, I had a little post from Matt Tardio because he actually served over in Afghanistan. But I think this is his podcast, so let's just listen. Hopefully it's at the right part. He's going to explain some information about the shooter.
Talk about that. Sarah Adams ended up reporting on this. You guys don't know, she's a former CIA officer and has some connections. And this was actually not the bulk of what she said here was confirmed, but a lot of this was confirmed by the government. We now know that this guy was a trained CIA asset. But the interesting part about it was he allegedly only did it for the first couple, for 10 years. And I believe she actually reports and says that he went through the training back in 2007. Here you go. His agency training in 2007 took place at the CIA's Eagle Base near Desabs district in Kabul province. So if he was doing this work for 10 years, starting in 2007, that means he completed it in 2017. Now, for those of you that don't know what was going on in Afghanistan at that time, we had a huge fight going on against ISIS-K over in Nangarhar province. We had a bunch of ISIS fighters that were pouring in from around the world. I remember hearing over 4 different, I kid you not, more than 4 different languages over the ISIS radios at one time.
Well, I'm just gonna guess here now, but I'm thinking is like Pakistani, Afghani, like all those different languages, those regions that we were just talking about, where those people are from, those terrorists.
I mean, these guys were coming in from all over the place.
Arabic,
thousands of them shoved up there in those mountains, and we were going after them. So if this guy got out in 2017, and we were in a heavy engagement with ISIS in 2017, and he didn't leave the country until September of 2021, that is a freaking, 4-year window with this guy doing God only knows what, that we didn't have eyes on him. Where he could have been radicalized, where he could have been fighting along ISIS, he could have been doing all sorts of different things. Now, the other thing that is very important for you guys to note is he couldn't have been doing any of that whatsoever. And I want to make this perfectly clear. Yes, trained CIA asset. Yes, worked side by side along U.S. Special Forces. Was out there going around on the ground, putting bullets in bad guys for years. Now, when we talk about this and we kind of like go over it, right, and we start discussing it, there's something else that you need to understand about this withdrawal. I don't know how many people that I've spoken to that are Afghans that ended up coming into the United States of America and ended up leaving their families behind, or for whatever reason, they couldn't get their families out. Now, this guy is married and he's got kids, but he also had multiple family members left behind inside of Afghanistan. And the Taliban was able to go over and get paperwork on all of these guys. A lot of that paperwork wasn't completely and totally destroyed. A lot of those hard drives were. You guys have seen like tons of this stuff that ended up getting left behind because of how quickly that withdrawal was ordered to take place and how poorly planned it was.
Everyone says it was a bad withdrawal, and that a lot of people got left behind, people got injured. I think that's what she was calling Abbey Gate.
The Taliban ended up going and grabbing that paperwork and capitalizing on it and started tracking and hunting down family members. And a lot of them had to go into hiding. Now, it is possible that they got a hold of this suspect's family over inside.
Yeah, Abbey Gate is when they withdrew and the Taliban was attacking them. That was in August 26, 2021. An ISIS-K terrorist, one of the prisoners set free by the Taliban less than 2 months earlier, detonated a suicide bomb at a civilian gate of Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul, the main entry point for an evacuation operation. So they suicide bombed a bunch of people trying to leave the country.
Of Afghanistan, because 5 months ago, this man's family reports that he just went missing. That nobody knew where he went. Nobody knew what happened to him. He was from Washington State. I see you guys saying he was married with 5 kids. You're absolutely correct. So how did he make it all the way over to Washington, D.C. with a revolver in his hand? Very good question. But for 5 months prior to the shooting, this guy was missing. He was gone. Nobody in his family had heard from him. Nobody's really answering phones. None of that crap. Can we go?
That's messed up.
Through the math, if he's 29. Oh, see, you're assuming things like you're in America, and that an asset for some reason has to be of a particular age, right? Don't assume that, right? You're talking about a foreign country working side by side with people, and things are completely and totally different. So I don't know how else to tell you that. And that's as in depth as I'm going to go into that, all right? But if you're looking at it from,
what were they using kids over there?
That angle, I'm telling you, you're chasing down the wrong rabbit hole. Now,
I should say we, because it was like 40 different nations.
That,
if you don't know, guys, he's a Special Forces Ranger, and his podcast is Speak the Truth. Right here. I actually am subscribed. I'm just on a different account, and yeah, his X is at AngerTab.
Leads to a very serious complication when your family members get left behind. This is something that the Taliban would do quite often, where they would take people's families and they would torture them, they'd kill them, they would threaten to kill, they would rape, they would do all sorts of nasty things in order to get people to conduct terror attacks. So some of the people, suicide bombers, active shooters, things like that we'd see take place over there were not necessarily radicalized, but they were forced by a terrorist organization, sometimes Al-Qaeda, sometimes the Taliban, sometimes ISIS. It just depends, right? But they're forced by that different terror organization because their family members are taken captive and they're under duress.
And just stuff like that happening over here in Canada too, with worker permits and low wages and sending money back to like terrorists that are like holding people's families ransom, and it's like a breeding ground for slavery and like all this stuff's going on, man. It's because they're bringing all this stuff over here, the stuff that they've been doing this stuff for years and years and years and years, and then they're gonna come over here and try to implement it over here. See.
And they would rather kill themselves in a suicide bombing, in a shooting, and something like that before their family members, the worst of the worst, ends up happening to them.
Like, I just so you know, like the Muslims, right? No, I'm not gonna say all Muslims, but the Islamists at least, they're the one, like they weaponize their mind as well as their body and everything. They're like trying to wage war on the world for God, right? So like they'll pretend to be the victim, or they'll pretend to be like peaceful and stuff like that, and they'll, like, that's called taqiyya. So just keep that in mind.
So that is possible that this guy's family back in Afghanistan ended up getting like captured, tortured, or that even here in the United States, because of the amount of people that were let into this country, it is possible. Like I told you, over 10,000 people have been reported with connections to ISIS and the Taliban here in America. So it is possible that the Taliban back in Afghanistan ended up getting a hold of the information, getting a hold of paperwork, discovering who this guy is, and here in America, putting his life under threat and forced him to go conduct that attack. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Now, it's not okay, and it doesn't make it okay. Not even remotely close if that's what ended up taking place. But the FBI has got a lot of digging to do into all of this stuff to kind of get to the root of it and what actually happened with this guy. Yeah.
Suspect granted asylum, and if so, when did that happen?
Okay, he's just going through the same stuff that we did now. I just wanted to show you what he said on that. So you've heard from CIA operator, you've heard from a special forces operator, you've heard from the news, we've heard from different reports from people all around. Now let's hear from the president. So President Donald Trump, very happy Thanksgiving. So I can't do his voice, but it'd be funny if I could. A very happy Thanksgiving salutation to all of our great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice at allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved up, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with certain other foolish countries throughout the world. Hey, I love your accent, okay? I was not talking shit, sir. For being, with certain other foolish countries throughout the world for being politically correct and just plain stupid when it comes to immigration. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million census. Most of us are on welfare from failed nations, most of which are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. They and their children are supported through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. They put up with what has happened to our country, but it's eating them alive to do so. A migrant earning $30,000 with a green card will get roughly $50,000 in yearly benefits for their family. The real migrant population is much higher. This refugee burden is the leading cause of social dysfunction in America, something that did not exist after World War II. Failed schools, high crime, urban decay, overcrowded hospitals, housing shortages, and large deficits, etc. As an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both, while worst congressmen / women in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, and who probably came into the USA illegally, in that you are not allowed to marry your brother, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, its constitution, and how badly she is treated, when her place of origin is a decadent, backward, and crime-ridden nation, which is essentially not even a country for lack of government, military, police, schools, etc. Even as we have progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded those gains and living conditions for many. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover. Terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country. End all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country. Denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility and deport any foreign national who is publicly charged security risk or non-compatible with Western civilization. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approved process. Only reverse migration can fully cure the situation. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving to all, except those that hate, steal, murder, and destroy everything that America stands for. You will not be here long. So I like this one right here. Let's watch this one.
Officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people. You see them. But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other. And that's an airplane. There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens to them.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let them in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked, there were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful. And if you look, you'll see there was a law passed. It makes it almost impossible not to let them in, not to certify them, so to speak, once they come in. And they came in, and they shouldn't have come in. And frankly, the whole thing was a mess. The whole Afghanistan situation was a mess. It should have never taken place. If we're going to go out, and we would have gone out because I had everybody ready to go, we were going to go out with strength and dignity and precision, and we would have left from Bagram, and we would have kept Bagram, by the way, because of its very close relationship to China and where they make their missiles. But when you let the people come in by the thousands and thousands and thousands, they made a terrible mistake.
Right. Now, that's all I have for that topic, I think. So we're going to move on to... We're going to go through these fast. So here's some of the fake psyops that were exposed because of the location being shown on people's accounts. You can actually see it here. That the new X feature revealing account locations exposed thousands of fake profiles. Popular Gaza journalist accounts showed activity from Indonesia, Netherlands, UK, and Nigeria, with one raising $35,000 while based in Nigeria. And then there's accounts claiming to be patriots from America. They're claiming to be Jewish people. They're claiming to be people from Gaza to make money, right? At the very least. This one's, look, misleading content. This is AI fabricated clip made to incite outrage against the IDF. Contains AI generated content. You see that? Whoa, what just happened? Hold on, guys. Roseanne Barr commented, imagine trying to destroy America and MAGA and turning your back on the Bible just to impress your Pakistani fake Nazi bot followers. LOL. She still got it. She's still hilarious. The General X hoax. Millions of Americans duped by thousands of fake activists running propaganda from Iran, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, amplified by major newsrooms like the New York Times. So, like, the New York Times was reposting this stuff and using it as like sources and stuff. Camp based in Poland. This guy had like 1 million followers. Republicans against Trump. Camp based in India. Yasmin Muhammad said. Crazy. Israel news posts. Massive network of fake Gaza accounts exposed. More than 40,000 fake Gaza eyewitness profiles have been uncovered since the X-location update. These accounts claim to live in Gaza and post daily about events on the ground, yet none of them are actually in Gaza. There's even more that were Nigerian, I think. There was like, because what happens is, I think there's someone selling bots in Nigeria, and a country like China will come along, or Russia or someone, and they'll order a bunch of bots to spread a certain message. And then that's what we're seeing now. Is the prime rib overcooked or cooked to perfection? PSA accounts such as this one share interesting content to attract users to their mega psyops propaganda messages. This is how they all operate. Beware. Anti-left memes against the hypocritical tyrannical left. And then they're posting like a steak. Ridvan Ademir, so I know this guy, apostate prophet. He's like a Christian. Some of my findings so far indicate that Amelia Bernandout, an Arab who actually goes by the name of Ali Hussein, he rose to fame after October 7th, pretending to be a Swedish royal woman who converted to Islam. He also has another fake account. Amelia, Nordic Viking girl, avid reader, chivalrous knight, precision archer, peace activist. This whole account is fake. 13,000 followers. Findom legend. Every moment is a curated experience, leaving you craving more. Follow me. I follow all my followers. These 3 Nigerian guys are the ones behind President Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump's fake account on X. So this account had like millions of followers. They were arrested earlier this morning by the Nigerian police force in Benin. They confessed to their crimes and also said they blah, blah, blah. So that's them. Dear companions, there's a fake Facebook account using my name to steal money from the public. We reached out to Meta a while ago to remove the account. They didn't respond. Meta doesn't remove this account in 48 hours. I will take serious legal action against them. So this guy's like trying to sell Mossab Hassan Yusuf's book. He's a son of Hamas guy. So this is Tommy Robinson. I deleted this post because it was a fake account. The account praising the now very dead Hamas leader was not his. Abdullah, you're a hero, mate. I like to be fair and balanced. Abdullah is a hero for saving a mother and her child today. Unfortunately, he supports the genocidal Islamist regime. Someone pretended to be Tommy Robinson, though, spreading fake information. And this one is Canada. All right, so you can see that there's a lot of accounts with VPNs and stuff leading to the United States for some reason on the left in Canada. Could it be PSYOP? Probably. And this is E11. He's an MIT student from America, Jewish man, pro-Israel. Breaking, the founder of Track APAC, the group smearing pro-Israel U.S. politicians as foreign agents, is a self-proclaimed Marxist living in Germany. She lived in Kuwait, the Philippines, and now Germany, all while volunteering with various U.S. left-wing groups. This is her. The founder of America First APAC Tracker is self-proclaimed Marxist who lives in Germany. The group has often accused pro-Israeli politicians of bowing to foreign influence. APAC Hall of Shame. This one is Jay in Kiev. Even if for the most niche topic, Russian troll farms are found to be exploding to sow division in Western communities. This is a Canadian X account that even has a website pushing for the province of Alberta to secede from Canada. So he's pushing pro-Russian content and trying to secede from Canada content. But he's based in Thailand. The province of Alberta shall become a sovereign country. How to help, petition statement, what act. Mary Willett, an Alberta Prosperity Preach. I have seen where some of your supporters are spreading rumors about Forever Canadian collecting signatures, blah, blah, blah. This is the signatures that they were talking about. And then this one right here, there's so many, guys. There's so many. The Gaza Faker Network, how a global web of fake war witnesses fooled the world. So this is a whole thread of them. And then that Gazan journalist crying on your feed. He's tweeting from Poland. That 7-year-old girl in Gaza, Qatar. Elon Musk just exposed massive foreign psyops pushing anti-Israel laws, fake accounts, fake stories, fake footage. You were manipulated. Israel isn't the villain.
And now let's talk about something that will make your blood boil, because it sure did mine. Elon Musk's X just pulled the curtain back on one of the biggest information warfare campaigns in recent memory. A new feature now reveals where accounts are actually posting from. And guess what? That Gaza-based journalist posting emotional videos about his suffering, turns out he's actually living in Poland. That
I'm pretty sure New York Times quoted him a couple times.
7-year-old girl from Gaza begging for her life. Her account was based in Qatar. Another Gaza war reporter, he's actually tweeting from Indonesia. The so-called Republicans against Trump, based in Austria. MAGA patriots, Bangladesh. You can't make this up. These are not just
American
anonymous
account based in Pakistan.
accounts with cute bios. These are propaganda farms. Foreign actors running sock puppet accounts designed to manipulate you, to make Americans hate America. Christians hate Israel, and Jews look like villains. Israel is not the aggressor, okay? Israel is the firewall standing between the free world and Iranian-sponsored terror. And now it turns out the same people calling us genocidal,
look at that. Look at all the food they got. They got more food than we do.
Are sitting in some internet cafes in Pakistan and running 50 accounts with profile pics stolen from Google. In war, the first casualty is truth. In the digital war, the first casualty is discernment.
All right. So, that's our PSYOP story. Now we're going to go into the Muslim Brotherhood story. So, this all started when Trump decided to ban the Muslim Brotherhood chapter. And this could be another possible motive for, the attack on the National Guardsmen. But that's just a theory of mine. I don't actually know that. I need to do some more research to see if there's even a Muslim Brotherhood in Afghanistan anymore. But basically, Trump banned some chapters, but not all of them. Let's see what Ryland Gibbons said first. So, the presidential order signed by President Trump focuses on the Muslim Brotherhood branches in Lebanon, Jordan, and Egypt. Notably absent are any reference to the Muslim Brotherhood branches in Turkey and Qatar, which are actually part of the government in those countries. So because of the peace that's going on in the Middle East, there's a good chance that because the Muslim Brotherhood is part of the Turkey and Qatar government, that he's not going to ban those right away. But we're going to see what happens. Now, this is the Imam of Peace. Now, this guy is a peaceful Muslim, they call themselves. I don't know if those exist, but this guy seems to know what he's talking about. There seems to be a reform movement in the with the Muslims. I don't know if it's true or not. I hope it is, but what he says something really good here that you should listen to about the Muslim Brotherhood.
And let me be unequivocal. There is no threat greater to national security today than the Muslim Brotherhood, the threat of the Muslim Brotherhood. No threat greater in its reach, no threat greater in its ideological influence, no threat greater in its ability to infiltrate, manipulate, and mobilize. This is not rhetoric, it is reality. Other nations are waking up to this threat. Other nations have recognized what this organization truly represents. And around the world, governments are acting decisively. Across the Middle East, the Muslim Brotherhood has been banned or designated a terrorist organization. In Europe, governments are confronting its networks and exposing its influence operations. And in the United States, it has become the hottest national security topic in Washington, D.C.
Okay, so this is Tommy talking about it. The Muslim Brotherhood is banned by Saudi Arabia, Egypt, UAE, and the list goes on. Yet the UK allows it. They must be banned. They're the route to all Islamic terrorism across the world. Ban the Muslim Brotherhood.
They use the freedom of speech to censor your right to speak against them. And when they say they use the terminology Islamophobia, it's just to stop you from criticizing the Islamists and the Muslim Brotherhoods or all form of radicalism. The fact that Islamic Relief, for instance, is registered as a charity here, but all the way in Saudi Arabia, in UAE and other countries is banned because of the investigation that showed that this charity is sending money all the way to some terrorist groups in the Middle East.
Yes.
It tells you a lot. I think you have more extremists in UK than you have in the Middle East.
Really?
At this stage, absolutely. The things that some of the...
You hear that? Like, that's crazy.
Islamists say in various mosques, and we have been seeing that online, the terminology they use, the analysis they make, the statements they actually make, they would not be able to say it all the way in Afghanistan, for example, or in Iraq.
And there's 3 of these just built in my province. If you're watching from my province, they just built 3 centers, Islamic centers here, mosques.
So how has this been allowed to flourish in the UK? What's your analysis of that?
In the name of democracy. So the Muslim Brotherhood, they use the freedom of speech in a manner where they will be anti-Semite in the name of freedom of speech. I absolutely stand against that, because I think anti-Semitism is not an opinion, it's a crime, and a crime against humanity. And once you allow that, on the 7th of October, for example, when it happened, the genocide against the Israelis, what I saw and what we witnessed is the fact that some Islamists all the way from here, in Small Heath, in Al Amrak, in Birmingham, and other areas, we saw their voices. It was pro-Hamas.
Yes.
And Hamas, as a force which carried that genocide in Gaza and also in Israel, it's actually the armed forces of the Muslim Brotherhood. Muslim Brotherhood in my country, for example, UAE, where Muslim, where Arab, is banned, but however is not banned in the United Kingdom.
So it should be banned?
Absolutely.
100%. 100% should be banned. I'm going to show you why it should be banned. Okay. People say that. So before we look at this, people say that the Muslim Brotherhood is not a terrorist organization anymore. They're only about politics, blah, blah, blah. They're just a network for Muslims, blah, blah, blah. So here are some of the modern things that they've done. So recent Muslim Brotherhood linked terrorism and plots, 2024 to 2025, October 24, Jordan Israel border, 2 Muslim Brotherhood affiliated Jordanians stabbed and wounded Israeli civilians, April 2025, Jordan authorities foiled Muslim Brotherhood sabotage terror plot and full ban on Muslim Brotherhood. 31 arrested, assets seized. June 2025, Colorado, Muslim Brotherhood linked Mohammed Sabri Solomon firebombed Jewish targets, GPS tied to 24 pro-Hamas protests. Ongoing, Jordanian Muslim Brotherhood funneled millions to Hamas rockets, U.S. Treasury Secretary sanctions June 2025. Ongoing, Lebanon Muslim Brotherhood fought with Hezbollah, firing rockets at Israel. April 2025, Sudan Muslim Brotherhood arms smuggling ring, Turkish weapons, Iranian drones busted by UAE. Trump, EU, or EO, I don't know what the EO is, November 24th, 2025, now designated, oh, that's something order, presidential order, now designated Muslim Brotherhood chapters as terrorist organizations. The Brotherhood never went peaceful, it just went covert. So this is a total documented instance, plots directly linked to Muslim Brotherhood branches and affiliates 58 plus. And this is in the last 2 years. 2023, 19 instance plots. 2024, 22 instance plots. 2025, Jan to November, 17 new instance and plots plus ongoing support. Key highlights, 1,200 plus Israelis killed by October 7th by Muslim Brotherhood offspring Hamas. 53 Americans murdered or taken hostage. 10 million funneled but to Hamas via Muslim Brotherhood charities, U.S. Treasury 2025. Multiple stabbings, bombings, drones, rockets, and arms smuggling plots across Jordan, Egypt, Lebanon, Sudan, Europe, and U.S. 6 countries already banned Muslim Brotherhood as terrorist organization, U.S. now moving. Trump, EO, presidential order, November 24th, 2025. Verdict of Muslim Brotherhood never abandoned terrorism. Just rebranded, went underground, and outsourced the bloodiest work to Hamas, HASM, Hezbollah allies, and lone wolves. 58 plus and counting, time to finish the job globally. Don't forget Iran. You forgot Iran. Even more Muslim Brotherhood linked terrorists and plot. 2023, 2024, October 7th, 2023, Egypt Muslim Brotherhood senior leader publicly called for violent attacks on U.S. partners and interests in one day of Hamas massacre. October 23 to 2025, Lebanon Muslim Brotherhood's Islamic military wing joined Hamas and Hezbollah for rocket barrages on Israeli citizens. November 2023, Jordan Muslim Brotherhood cell busted planning drone production for terror ops. Parts smuggled from abroad. 2024-2023, Jordan multiple Muslim Brotherhood plots uncovered, including Iranian explosives cached in Amman. Suspects trained with Hamas, Hezbollah. 2023, Egypt, 7 attacks by Muslim Brotherhood affiliate HASM group targeting security forces, down from peak but still active. 2023-2024, Canada Muslim Brotherhood networks fueled 670% anti-Semitism surge and a 488% jump in terror charges via pro-Hamas activities. So September 25th, September 2025, Sudan, U.S. allies warn Muslim Brotherhood-linked extremists fueling civil war training jihadists for regional attacks. October 7th, 2023, Gaza West Bank, Muslim Brotherhood-backed Hamas massacre killed, kidnapped 53 Americans, ideologically and funding ties confirmed, and killed 2,000 Israelis, raped, murdered, pillaged, all that stuff. June 2025, global U.S. Treasury sanctioned Muslim Brotherhood sham charities for $10 million to Hamas after October 7th atrocity. 2024-2025, U.S. 6+ Islamist terror plots up sharply, several inspired by Muslim Brotherhood Hamas amid Gaza conflict. April 2025, Jordan, 16 Muslim Brotherhood members arrested for rocket drone plot versus sensitive sites trained in Lebanon. July 2025, Egypt, HASM, Muslim Brotherhood armed wing, released training video, targeted attacks on police and judiciary. Ongoing 2023-2025, Turkey, Muslim Brotherhood exiles in Istanbul coordinate HASM hops, including smuggling arms to Sinai affiliates. June 2023, Qatar, Turkey expelled 100 Muslim Brotherhood leaders at Egypt's request. Ties to Sinai terror groups exposed. June 2025, Colorado anti-Semitic firebombing by Muslim Brotherhood supporter Mohammed Sabri Somoli at pro-Israel rally. So just want to go into, there's a video here. Wait. There's a video here. I thought maybe it's not here. Oh, wait. So this should have been over with the Muslim Brotherhood stuff. But you know how it said that in Canada they were using the Free Palestine movement? Well, this is Palestine Action in the UK. And they're now prescribed as a terror group, hitting a policewoman with a sledgehammer. All those politicians and celebrities standing up by them, calling them nonviolent, tell that to this WPC, woman police something.
Sledgehammers. The jury was also shown several different videos of the moment that Mr. Corner is alleged to have brought the sledgehammer down onto police Sergeant Evans' back. It's a chaotic scene with red paint on the floor. This video showing one of the defendants being arrested in a struggle before capturing the moment Corner is alleged to have hit Evans as she knelt on the floor trying to arrest another member of the group before being tasered. Evans told the court that just before that moment she'd looked up at her colleague who had a shocked look on his face and that she then felt a pain in her back. She said that she was scared it had been shattered and that she struggled to get back up, scooting around on her backside instead to try and assist her colleagues and to help Samuel Corner, who, having been arrested, was complaining that his handcuffs were too tight. Now, she said that as she was doing that, he told her she was complicit in genocide. The court heard more than a year later she's still on restricted duties because of the injury sustained that night, and that she had to take 3 months off work after an X-ray showed a lumbar spine fracture.
That's insane. Fracture her spine. Okay, this is a different story, so let's go back over here. I don't think we'll have time to go into Venezuela, but we'll do that next day. Right now, let's take a look at something that happened at the UFC you might have heard of. Dana White says Dylan Dennis is banned from ever attending any UFC event. The entire Muslim Brotherhood was here tonight in the first 5 rows for Islam. You'll never see Dylan Dennis at a UFC fight ever again.
Can you just tell us how disappointed you were to see that and any insight into the fallout?
I blame myself for that, actually. They came back and told me right before I walked out for the main card that Dylan Dennis was here and he was moving around sitting in fighter seats and not sitting in his own seat that he had. He had a ticket. And they said, do you want us to throw him out of here? And I said, he has a ticket? And I said, yeah. And, you know, they told me, they said, Masvidal said he's going to fuck him up on sight. And I said, well, where's Masvidal sitting? He said, well, he's 6 or 7 rows away from Masvidal. I said, well, if the guy has a ticket, let him sit in his seat and let him do what he's doing and keep an eye on him. It never even crossed my mind, as stupid as this could be, that the entire Muslim Brotherhood was here tonight in the first 5 rows for Islam. And as soon as it broke
Why is the Muslim Brotherhood like anywhere, dude?
out, I was over on the other side and I go, fuck. I know exactly what that is. I knew it. And yeah, you will never see Dylan Dennis at a UFC fight ever again.
I don't trust Dana. He's been working with the Saudis and all this stuff, trying to bring sports over there. And I understand what he's doing is nice in theory, but this is practice right here. So I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but I know that the Muslims fight like in a group. So if one gets attacked, they all attack, you know. So I'm sure it was pretty rough. Now this is the Muslim Brotherhood this is Islam Invasion. Muslim Brotherhood is a parent organization for all terrorist groups. Muslims understand this and ban them in many countries, yet it is welcomed in the West. Warning, they use democracy as a deadly...
After the recent ban of Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan,
it's a deadly mistake.
I have a message to Western countries that still hosts the Brotherhood leaders and members. It's a message from those who know. The Muslim Brotherhood is not just a political movement. It is the ideological mother of some of the deadliest terrorist groups in the modern world. Since its founding, the Brotherhood has been crystal clear about its mission. Not reform, but domination. Not coexistence, but conquest. Throughout its history, violence has followed. In 1948, Brotherhood members assassinated Egyptian Prime Minister Mahmoud al-Nuqrashi. In 1979, their Syrian branch massacred 83 military cadets in the Aleppo Artillery School, targeted simply for belonging to the Alawite minority. In 1982, their uprising in Hama, Syria, triggered a battle that left tens of thousands dead. And in the 90s, Brotherhood ideologies in
Hama, Syria, right? Hamas, right? Palestine, Syria. That's where they're from. These are the river people from Syria. That's where these Palestinians are from. Right? They're not from that region at all. They don't even know their own history.
Fired Al-Qaeda and other jihadi groups that carried out attacks across the Middle East and beyond.
And that's on purpose to brainwash them so they'll do whatever you want.
Yet, despite this bloody history, many Western countries still host Brotherhood leaders, treating them as moderates, allowing them to spread their ideology under the cover of religious freedom. This is a mistake, a deadly mistake. Europe, America, and the free world must understand the Muslim Brotherhood does not respect democracy. They use it until they are strong enough to replace it. Extremists do not come offering peace. They come offering destruction, first for their declared enemies, and then for the societies that gave them shelter. If you do not heed the warnings from Egypt, Jordan, Israel, and others who have seen the true face of the Brotherhood, you could be next. God forbid. History has already written the warning. Now the question is, will you listen? Extremism thrives when good people stay silent.
Anyway, what is the Muslim Brotherhood and why is Trump looking to ban it? You might be surprised to learn the real story, including that it's already banned in much of the Middle East. I guess we kind of just went through that. I'm not even gonna. I hear it from them themselves. Wow, I might be glitched. We gotta do a quick refresh, I think. Can you still see this? Okay, perfect.
In Rububiyyah by association, where you say shirk can occur in Rububiyyah by association, where you say there is another creator besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you may say that Allah creates, for example, the heavens, and the Isa alayhi salam, he is in charge of the earth. Okay, so we have, for example, the Trinity. So they are committing shirk by associating.
Trinity is Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit.
Associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And He, the Most High, He said, indeed shirk is the greatest form of oppression. Why? Because oppression, ikhwan, is putting something in the wrong place. The mushrik takes the right of Allah Azza wa Jal, which is worship, and he gives it to the creation. That's the grievous crime. Taking the right of Allah. Allah created you, and you worship other than Allah. That's the grievous sin. That shows that the worst etiquette, the mushrik, is the most disrespectful of the people.
Shirk is a meta evil, turning a person into God or giving him the powers. Shirk is, in fact, the greatest oppression. And shirk actually has not just after you die effects, that it has effects right here and right now.
People are all freaking brainwashed, dude. Wait, let me get out of this real quick. So, is this going to work now?
In Hadith Sahih al-Bukhari, he said, I have been commanded to wage war against all mankind until they testify that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his prophet. And after Muhammad died, Islam continued to grow very quickly by the sword and by military conquest. They started conquering.
That's the most plastic ass sword I've ever seen in my life, bro.
And within 100 years,
dudes go up waving it around like this, right? Like it weighs nothing.
Of Muhammad's death, Islam conquered 75% of the Christian world at the time. They conquered the churches, their people, their land.
This is all the territory they believe belongs to them. This is like Spain here or some shit. Morocco, all these places. Israel. Egypt. I forget what all these places are.
They conquered all of it.
The whole Middle East.
That church is also the tomb where Jesus was buried and rose again. And under Islamic rule, that church was completely destroyed. And instead, they built a mosque next to it called Al-Aqsa Mosque on the very ground that Solomon's temple used to stand. They built a mosque. And they did this on purpose to make a point that Islam is victorious over Christ and Christianity. In 1 year alone, 30,000 churches were destroyed across Egypt and Syria under Muslim Khalif Hakim. Like Jesus said in John 10:10.
They're doing all this on purpose, guys.
The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. And this is exactly what the enemy has been doing for thousands of years. He's been stealing territories from the kingdom of heaven. He's been stealing churches, holy sites. He's been killing and persecuting millions and millions of Christians and destroying churches, cities, nations. This is still happening today to Christians and to churches, not just in the Middle East, but all across the world. Anywhere where Islam exists, there is persecution of Christians. Solomon says, what has been will be again, for there is nothing new under the sun. I'm going to show you a map on the screen in the top 50 countries where Christian persecution is happening today. 180 million Christians heavily persecuted.
Even in Mexico, dude. What the hell? Oh, yeah. We're going to have another world war, guys. It's happening.
Persecuted for their faith today. And out of the 50 top countries where Christians are persecuted, 44 of them are by Islam. Are they persecuted by Islam? That is 90% of all Christian persecution happening today, happening from Islam.
90%, guys. They're like literally our mortal enemies. Literally. Now, let's see. This guy right here, he went undercover in the Muslim Brotherhood. So I want to end with him. Because I got to end it.
Why Anjum Chowdhury said that I can chop the queen head, she said, it's a freedom of speech. There is a border for freedom of speech. Yeah. So you better wake up. You better wake up. Take my series, take my material, take it free. Spread it. So see what they're speaking behind your back in Arabic, and then you will enlighten and you will see what's exactly how you can conduct your way.
It's an honour to meet you.
Honour to meet you, Johnny.
From what I understand, you're quite a legend within this area. I've seen a lot of people approaching you from when we've just met. Can you tell me who you are? What's your name?
My name is Tzvi Heskeli. I was born in Jerusalem in 97.
So this is Tommy Robinson's channel. And he went to Israel and interviewed these people. A bunch of people, not just him.
70.
He's Jewish, and he He looks like Muslim guy, so he can actually do undercover work.
Served in the Israeli army, served in the Israeli security services, a journalist for the last 25 years, expert for Arab affairs, penetrated as a Muslim, as an Arab, inside radical Islam organization in Israel and in Europe. And I did a documentaries before, in the beginning of 2011, that said the Islam gonna hit Europe. Nobody believed me then, and now everybody look for this material. And I continue to penetrate the Muslim Brotherhood in France, in Germany, and I proved that Islam gonna clash in the West, it's not a matter of terror. He's gonna stay, he's gonna invade in a lot of ways, a quiet jihad and a noisy jihad. And I covered all the terror attacks in Britain, 7/7, 2005, and I discovered that most of the Muslim community there supporting terror attacks, supporting controlling of the Sharia and the Islam in UK and all Europe.
Let me rewind you just on one of those points. You said you penetrated the Muslim Brotherhood in Europe. I'm from England, you know, from Britain.
Look how old this is, guys. They've been around forever, man, doing this shit.
I'm from England, you know, from Britain. My capital city is London. We know they're active there. What can you tell me if you penetrated any organisations within my country?
I think that's him there.
Yeah. First I knew there is an organization called Muhajirun.
Their head office is in my town.
Yeah.
Was in my town before they were prescribed.
I penetrated the Islamic Center in Luton.
The Luton Islamic Center I had battles against from
He's from Luton. Town he is.
the minute I started my activism. Okay, so Kadir Bask, the Imam. He's the main man. And he was part of my council's Luton in Harmony programme, the main jihadist.
I presented myself as a Palestinian journalist and Palestinian volunteer.
You speak Arabic?
Yeah.
So you speak Arabic, you can disguise yourself as a Muslim, you take that off, Allah Akbar.
And then I prayed with them, I've been with them, I stayed with them. And Anjad Chowdhury, we were friends actually.
This is the main jihadist guy you're talking about?
You know, tens of interviews and meetings in his office, in his mosque. And then I discovered the Muslim Brotherhood, not in Britain, in France. But in Britain, the Hamas is very, very strong. Zahir Birawi is the head of the Hamas. He have a lot of connection in the Labour Party. And they pushing in all the ways the Islam into Britain.
Let me tell you how deep it goes. You just spoke about the Luton Islamic Center. Kadir Bask was the main imam, yeah? What did you find with Luton Islamic Center?
That they preaching and teaching very radical Islam that is not tolerate to any of the other British. They consider you as a kafir. You know what kafir is?
It's the equivalent of the N-word for black people.
Why they chopped Lee Rigby head?
Because he was a kafir.
Yeah, and kafir you should kill. This is the difference between Muslim Brotherhood and ISIS. Muslim Brotherhood and
They'll tell you outsider, but it doesn't.
Salafism. Anjam and Omar Brooks and all those guys, they Salafi.
So the Luton Islamic Center was the Wahhabist Salafist mosque in Luton.
And even in Finsbury Mosque, I met Abu Hamza al-Masri.
Yeah, so
he came from Afghanistan.
Yeah. Let me tell you something crazy here. Yeah. So Kadir Bask, leader of the. Do you want us to walk? Kadir Bask, leader of the Islamic Center. So the government have a strategy where they have people who de-radicalise, and deal with extremist racist organisations. Now, when I started the English Defence League, I was introduced to one of these people whose job it
pretty cool, actually. Doing an interview like this, you get to see like everything around.
was to work out what the English Defence League was about. When he went to a police meeting, so his job was to go to a big police conference and educate the police on far-right organisations and far-right groups. When he got there, guess who was educating the police on Islam? Kadir Bask, the Salafist leader who's a jihadist. This is one educating our government and police.
Because the useful idiots of the West, they separate as what's bleeds leads. You know, if it's okay, if it's condemn terror attacks, he's with us. They didn't read the book. They didn't read the behind the lines. They didn't listen in Arabic. If you will listen in Arabic, even now, when people speaking behind our back, you will find out that they're preparing the next war against us. So. British are so naive. You know, I asked the Minister of the Interior Affairs in Britain why Anjam Chowdhury said that I can chop the Queen head. She said, it's a freedom of speech. There is a border for freedom of speech. Yeah. So you better wake up. Take my serious, take my material, take it free. spread it. So see what they're speaking behind your back in Arabic, and then you will enlighten, and you will see what exactly how you can conduct your way.
Do you know the thing you've just said? Do you know the first thing I done in 2009 when I started my activism is I translated the website of Luton Islamic Centre, and there was a 6-page justification on why a woman should be blasted for adultery.
The meeting, I have the footage inside. I can send you.
Please send me. So as a journalist, you've come here, you've disguised yourself as an Arab, you've spent time in Europe. Tell me what you see as the future of Europe and the problems you found.
There is a countries that there's no way back. All the countries, the small countries, Holland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and even in your place, we have some kind of things that you can't go back, like your mayor in London and so on. So I think it's not going to be a violent clash between you. They're going to take it slowly, believe me.
Explain that, because you just spoke about two different groups. You spoke about...
That's what they're doing. They infiltrate. They're kind of like the WEF, They're going to get you to trust them. They're going to infiltrate. They're going to get into your cabinets because they know you don't care about voting. Then they're going to take everything you got, and then they're going to flip the script, and now all of a sudden it's Sharia law.
Terrorists.
The terrorists leave. The terrorists can't get things that the Quiet Jihad can do. Quiet Jihad going to the election. Quiet Jihad going to municipality. They're going to take their rights in a court. You heard what one of your judges said to one of the guys who helped the suicide bombers in 2007. He said, "I wish you good luck in your life." They laughing at you. They think you're useful idiots. And then I think that slowly they're going to be the majority in some places.
Why do you think? So the two different kinds of jihad. You've got the terrorists, but then you've got other organisations that are infiltrating politics who want the same goal as the terrorists. Yeah?
Everybody have the same goal, that the Islam will
They all have the same goal.
Prevail and will conquer, and we will be in Europe as the regime. You can't get other coffers, other religious sovereignty and control. Can't get it.
You infiltrate the Muslim Brotherhood in France.
Yeah.
To any Brits watching this, any Europeans, any Americans, Australians who don't understand what the Muslim Brotherhood is. You've spent a lot of time, dedicated years investigating them, infiltrated them. Who are the Muslim Brotherhood?
The Muslim Brotherhood it's a movement that began in Egypt in the beginning of the last century. They find out that they can't work in Egypt, and why they spread. The ideology says Al-Islam al-Hal. In Arabic, Al-Islam al-Hal. The Islam is the solution. If you have any problem in your life, in your regime, in your economic, with your wife, Islam al-Hal. You should return to the religious. When you return to the religious, all your problem in life will be solved. This is the Muslim Brotherhood. They sneaked into the people, to the street, giving people food, giving money, giving their education to the poor people. They support them in Egypt, in Gaza, and all the places.
No, in Luton, we've got the Discover Islam Centre, which does exactly this. Charity on the streets, all the PR in the paper, but they're all the Salafis.
I'm giving to the orphans food.
And I know who they are.
What his father did. He was a suicide bomber. So this is the Muslim Brotherhood. They penetrating slowly by the rule. They wearing a jacket with a tie. They're so nice. They
only give to Muslims too, by the way. Just so you know.
Condemning. So the Europeans like them. That's why all the manufacture of money of Hamas, it's from.
And then if they get in charge, then they charge the Christians and the Jews tax, and anyone else that gets killed. It's called jizya. So if you got to pay jizya, you're lucky because they slaughter everyone else.
From the mosques from Europe, when you put the €1 in a mosque as a donation, it's going straight to Hamas, even not to Abu Mazen, that he's terrorist by himself. So this is the small, quiet way of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Number one.
תודה. אני מסביר לו מה זה שנכנסים לאט לאט לתוך השלטון האחים המוסלמים, האסלאם, ואיך אנחנו לא שמים לב.
הם שיפתחו את העיניים.
Open your eyes. Open your eyes. So,
he said, open your eyes.
Me, when I'm opening my eyes, I say, hey, they're here. The European can see it. It's very small and tiny and invisible way that you don't know it because you didn't think in the same way. They sneaking to steal. Yalla.
So tell me, you're a journalist, you've been active, you've infiltrated terror organisations, you've dedicated your life really to highlighting this.
Yeah.
What message?
What happened to me? I returned to my religious.
You've turned to yours?
Yeah, I wasn't religious.
Okay.
Because I realized that if you're not holding your religious, you can fight. That's what you're going to find with your church. The Christian church is going to come back to Europe to be your identity.
So would you advise, is that where you see the future? You see people coming back to Christianity in Europe?
Yeah.
You can't fight without a religion. Isn't that crazy? He's right too. And he thinks that Christianity is going to come back. Church is going to come back.
They will have to. And not to give the Christian, the church for mosques. They're going to be a way back to religious. Even look what happened in Israel after the 7th of October. People begin to be not more religious by acting, but by belief. Look what happened to the kidnappers.
Tell me what message you would have to British journalists. There's a lot of British journalists that are silent on this, that maybe don't understand this. I think many of them are just cowards on the issue. But what message would you, as a journalist who's infiltrated terror organisations, who understands the idea and the mindset of these groups and what their goal is, what message would you have for British journalists?
Open your eyes. And I said to them, I know your place. I was in the same place, that you can't say the truth, and you feel something and you say something else. It will take you years to admit it, but you don't have time. To those journalists, open your eyes, see what's up in your neighborhoods, see what's up around you. This is the reality. Journalists sometimes, and I was part of it, they can't go against Islam. We're not against Islam. We're against the ideology of Islam that want to kick me and you out. And I can tell to those journalists, open your eyes, see what's happening behind the news, and see what's happening in the street, and then you will discover the truth. And it will take you time, but go out from the closet.
Lots of people have approached you. Lots of people. Someone just asked you for a blessing. You're very well known. You've done activism against jihadist terrorists. How dangerous is that? Even here, living in Jerusalem, are you under threat? Are you under risk?
It's very dangerous. Even here in Jerusalem, I just want to remind you that in 2016 there was Intifada here. There was
a war here.
Yeah, here. They stabbed us. There was suicide bombing in 2003 and 4. Hamas won in election in East Jerusalem. All the 6 members of the Palestinian Authority Council member, they were from Hamas here. So when I see them here, one guy with a beard going to the prayer, I know what he think about me. So it's dangerous. It's dangerous all over. The real danger that you don't know that this is the danger.
We're back on YouTube, but we need you. We need you to like, subscribe, comment, share. We are the media, but not...
Check out Tommy Robinson, his account, and his his YouTube. And I got one last message for you guys before we end our stream for today. Happy Thanksgiving from the Israeli war room. No, happy Thanksgiving, Americans. Here's though I'm Canadian, so we don't have. But the U.S.'s interference in various parts of the world is one of the factors that's causing it to become more isolated in the world. While the leaders of other countries may flatter it, the U.S.'s interference is making it more detested by nations day by day. This is the leader of Iran, by the way. He hates America, right? So don't listen to anything he says. Israeli war room said Happy Thanksgiving. Shows a B-52 bomber shooting down the MOP missile that went down and hit the bunker and blew it up and took out their nuclear sites. So this is actually a very funny post if you understand what's being showed here. So yeah, thanks for watching. Help my channel out, please. Like, subscribe, share, follow. Show your friends, download it, do whatever you want, make clips, help me out, and I'll keep doing it to keep you guys awake, open up people's eyes, and try to save what's left of the West. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.